welcome to another Warhammer Dad Terrain tutorial. Actually this one, Colonel Craig, go check out his YouTube site. He's got some great videos on there. After looking at my How to Build Modular Walls video, asked me to actually do one on how I actually pour the casts for it. So this will be a relatively short one. You can make your own molds. I'm going to use these from Hirsch Arts, and I'm actually going to use the methods that are very well described on the Hirsch Arts website. Very high quality molds. I really like them. So what you're going to need, and I'm going to do it from the very beginning, like I just received these molds through the mail. Even though I've done a couple steps already, I'll just redo them. I figure that's okay. When you first get them, you need to wash basically the talcum powder off of them that are just to keep them from sticking together and shipping. So you'll need a bucket for your very first time. I'm going to use what Hirsch Arts calls the wet water method, which is basically just add some jet dry to break up the surface tension of the water so it runs into all the crevices better. The very first time you'll need to dunk them and make sure there are no bubbles or anything. You're going to need whatever molds you want. I'm going to make another set of modular walls, and I want them to be sort of a cobblestone theme. I also need to build a few more bridges for my lava board, and then I'm building a goblin town for my Lord of the Rings set for my daughter, and so I have some wood planks I'm using just to build some floors and things. Other than your molds, you'll need a couple of cups to mix in and to pour. I just use a pitcher of water, bring it out here to my workbench so I can pour when I'm mixing. I use a spray gun to do the wet water method between, for each subsequent pour. A little jet dry to start, you just need that right off the bat. A spatula to scrape with, a bang board. There's a good instructions for how you do this on the Hirsch Arts website. It's basically just a piece of wood with some pieces of sponge duct taped to the bottom so you can bang on it and bounce it and get all the bubbles out. Other than that, the last thing you'll need, of course, is the stone. I'm using dental plaster. I just bought a 50-pound bag. I just leave a couple cups in here to do. It's much cheaper to buy it. It's 50-60 bucks for a 50-pound bag. And I'm using the Excalibur, which is heavier but very durable. I've dropped lots of them. And then what we'll end up doing is just making some. These are two walls glued together. Here's another two walls glued together, and then you can glue them in whatever kind of way you want. So this will just be a quick tutorial to just show how you start to finish casting your plaster in some molds. Alright, so the first step in this process is to do your initial dunking of the molds to help prevent the bubbles. I just like in a pitcher of water. Put about an inch of water in there. No, it's a little more than an inch, but that'll be okay. And just a small squirt of the jet dry. That was too much jet dry, but that's okay. All right, and then you just dunk it in there. And what you'll see, all right, I flipped on a couple lights to try and get a good view of this. See if I can get it. Got shadows coming in from outside, so here we go. So, I don't know if you can see it real well, but you've got some bubbles built up on all these areas. And you can just use your finger to get rid of most of them. But what happens is these are areas that your plaster won't flow into because you've got an air bubble there. Once you get most of them out that way, what you can do is just you can use a toothpick, a Q-tip, anything, and you just go through and you get rid of all these little bubbles here. And see how they just kind of pop up. And that, you just need to do that for all of them. You only need to do this the very first time, according to Bruce at the Hirsch Arts website. And however, I started to notice I was starting to get a few bubbles again in my molds when I hadn't been before. So I don't know if over time it dries out or if you need to redo it. But one thing to look for when you do this, and the reason I'm still doing it, is up under the little crevices you can get them, and you might not see them. So go ahead and run a Q-tip or something soft. Toothpick will work, but you don't want to poke holes in the mold either. So let me finish this up and I will come back. Okay, there are basically three ways you can prep your molds for actually using them to pour the plaster. First is you can just keep a small bucket like that, do them one at a time, dunk them like you saw me do. And then, hard to do this one-handed, but you slap them on, well, here, just to slap out all the extra water or anything there. A second similar method is you can just take a bigger bucket, stick all of these at one time down in there, or and then pull them out one at a time and do that. The next method, which is the one I usually use, I don't need to use it for real right now, but take a spray bottle of water, squirt a jet dry in it, and then before you use it, spray it in there, and then the same thing, just, bounce it off, and there you go. So let me prep the rest of mine, and then I will come back. Okay, now this may sound like a completely inane thing. However, when you're arranging these on this table that you're going to stamp, think about the height of each of these, because as you're scraping, you don't want to be bumping into others. So I can't scrape this way on this one because I'll hit this one. I can't scrape that way on that one. Actually, I can't scrape any way on that one. I'll probably just put this one aside and not use it this first go around. I always keep a couple extra trays around just in case I have extra plaster with each go around, and that way I could just pour it in to make extra bits and bobs as I need it. So the next step is actually making the plaster. Okay, making the plaster is pretty easy. I'm going to do this one-handed, so if I mess it up, I'm going to blame it on that. But about 1/3 of a cup of water into your cup here. It's a little more than 1/3, but that'll do. And then you take your plaster, I just pull it out, and you slowly pour it in, and I'm just going to do this. Oops, I don't want to do that. Okay. And it will sink to the bottom, and you just you're going to let it go. This takes a while, so don't be in a hurry. And the way this dental plaster works is the plaster will sink to the bottom. You can see it bubbling up and everything, and you're going to basically saturate it. And then at the top it's going to come up and look like a desert after a rainstorm or something, kind of a cracked earth look. And it probably will take more. I'll probably have to refill this cup. I tend to pour a little faster than I think you're probably supposed to, but that's I'm a fairly impatient person. But now you can see where it's starting to sink down. And I apologize for the light. This is just the way the light is set up in my garage, and I'm right-handed, so I'm stuck with it. Let's see if I can do. You can see it's starting to take longer to sink down now. We're not really that. See, you can see where it's starting to collect. This ends up being pretty heavy. It's much more liquidy than regular, like Woodland Scenic, Hydrocal, or anything. Just kind of spread it around. So you're going to want to overfill, and there's going to be a lot of water left over that you're going to either soak up or scrape off. All right. We're starting to get, you're starting to see what I'm talking about with the dry earth look. And what you're going to look for is no pools of water with just the really dry plaster, but no plaster that's not wet, if that makes sense. You can really see how it's starting to, you're going to get that cracked earth look everywhere. If it's a little thin or a little thick, it's okay. It just is what it is. But you'll see it's soaking up the water. I know it's going to need, there's some pools over here of water. Just try and spread it around. I'm probably a little more exacting than I need to be. Could probably be good to go right now. But it's also kind of cool to watch. Okay, let me get just a little bit more plaster. It's going to need very little more, but you still see there's a lot of pools. Might have been a little. And you just kind of get the hang of it. So that is probably good. So then you just stir it up. This is interesting to do this one-handed. Alright, so you just stir it up real good, and then let me put this back on the tripod. It's got a good amount of working time, so I mean, you don't want to dawdle, but you don't have to fly through it either. So let me put this up on the tripod and I'll be right back.